Wonder of Dinosaurs features the largest display of dinosaurs.
Okay, are we here? It looks like we're here. We did it. We made it. And by we, I mean me. Hello, everybody. I'm your Heavenly Father. Sorry for those of you who tuned in for the first broadcast. I turned it on, and then the software just took a dive, and the internet just took a dive, and it wasn't going to work out for anyone, specifically me. Let's... we're a few minutes behind here. This has already happened. And I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. This is President Biden talking about this year's budget. He's expected to increase the budget for the military, including many, many billions of dollars for Ukraine, to make up for the equipment that's been given there, to give them more equipment. And of course, the world is alight with the controversy that happened over the weekend with Chris Rock getting slapped. So really probably nothing that Joe Biden's going to comment on, but he'll probably be asked, and that's really what the world needs to know. Did you mean it when you said that Will Smith was a bitch, President Biden? Because that's what slipped out. It was ad-lib, it wasn't part of the script. Didn't read it from the teleprompter when he was in Poland. Let me pump up the volume, dance, and let's see if this actually works. And yeah, you guys are getting audio. If it's too loud, if I'm too loud, I don't care. Let me know, and we'll go from there. Hi, Cujo. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Deidre. Hi, Tracy. Who else is in here? Todd Stubler was in here earlier on the last broadcast. Cindy, Stephanie, everybody else watching. Somebody, if you're watching delayed, I'm not going to see you in the chat room. But I do try and speak to the people in the chat room and shout out to them. Marcy, hello. Let's get going with this.
Well, good afternoon.
Hey, Time for Truth.
Folks, it's been a busy couple of days for all of you. Let me begin by saying that, thanking Director Young. You know, you've heard me say this before over the years. My dad had an expression. He said, "Don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget. I'll tell you what you value."
My dad had an expression. It was, "Put on some pants, Joe." And he would say that every...
Don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value. Well, the budget I'm releasing today sends a clear message to the American people that what we value. First, fiscal responsibility. Second, safety and security. And thirdly, the investments needed to build a better America. The first value is fiscal responsibility. The previous administration, as you all know, ran up record budget deficits. In fact, the deficit went up every year under my predecessor. My administration is...
That's true. And his, I'm forgetting his name now. The guy who was before this guy, the former guy. Anyway, it was one term, he was done. It'll come to me.
Turning that around.
Somebody look it up. Who was president before Biden?
Around. Last year, we cut the deficit by more than $350 billion.
Woo!
This year, we're on track to cut the deficit by more than $1,300 billion. $1,300 billion. That would be the largest one-year reduction in the deficit in U.S. history.
By the way, that's not the debt. The deficit is different from the debt. Very quick. The debt is what you've built up over time. So we entered the 1980s as the world's largest debtee. We would collect the money, and we left after Reagan. We were the world's largest debtor. We outspent the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union went away. There was oil involved, pretty much where we are now. But ever since then, we haven't had a chance. We've had lots of chances, sorry. We haven't been able to balance our budget, except under Democrats. Clinton balanced the budget, had a surplus, but the Republicans just spend. Now, if you tax and spend, that's okay, because you take that revenue and you pay for what you're spending. But the Republicans haven't figured that out yet. So, Trump cut taxes for the rich and spent even more. And the deficit increased and the debt increased. So the debt will continue to increase because the budget was so high under Trump. Let's go back.
And here's how we're achieving this record deficit reduction. First, we're growing the economy.
It was Tippy Canoe, I believe, was the previous president.
Created a record 6.7
Tyler, too.
million jobs since I took office, and we've generated a GDP growth of 5.7%, the best economic growth we've seen in this country in over 40 years.
That is correct, since 1984.
This has led to substantial increase in government revenues.
And you know what came right before 1984? A gas crisis.
And dramatically improved our fiscal situation. Secondly, this record economic and job growth has made it possible for us to responsibly and significantly cut back on emergency spending. Earlier in the pandemic, it was right to...
So I have a big red dot over this icon on my screen. The icon, the program called OBS that I use to broadcast, I have a big red dot over it right now. I don't know what's happening, why that is. But if my broadcast suddenly goes away, that's why. Maybe it means I'm recording it. I have no idea. So just FYI, it's not you. Okay, it's you.
To give people help to make ends meet and to keep this economy going. Because of the progress we've made dealing with these emergencies.
Louis Samuel says, Tippy Canoe started the curse of Tecumseh. Joe won 2020Z. The judges agree with that, and I have no idea what...
The labor market is strong,
yes.
And unemployment claims
yes.
are at historic lows. We ended the pandemic unemployment assistance programs because Americans are back to work. I'm calling for new pandemic subsidies for large businesses to not continue those because those businesses are back and moving again as well.
They are correct.
But because we have to put this economy in a strong foundation, even the Delta and Omicron variants of COVID-19 and the cost of Putin's aggression in Ukraine have not required an additional fiscal package for state and local governments. But we still spend what we need to spend to continue to fight COVID. But those expenditures will be dramatically less than last year. Compared to 2020, we're reducing the size of the deficit relative to our economy by almost 2/3, reducing inflationary pressures, and making real headway cleaning up the fiscal mess I inherited. After my predecessor's...
It probably means there that the economy will increase by X. The deficit will increase by 2/3 of that compared to what it was before. They're not actually decreasing the deficit by 2/3, but I don't know, maybe. I haven't seen the conference yet. If they do, folks, we're just not going to spend any money on anything. Tires and military, that's about it.
Fiscal mismanagement.
Why tires? I'm a car guy.
We're reducing the Trump deficits and returning our fiscal house to order. Now, the budget I'm releasing today will continue this approach. It makes prudent investments in economic growth, a more equitable economy, while making sure corporations and the very wealthy pay their fair share. And I would add, nobody making less than $400,000 a year will pay a penny more in federal taxes. We can do this by, one, passing legislation that lowers costs for families on things like child care, health care, and energy costs, while lowering our deficit at the same time. We can give hardworking parents raising children tax relief that gives them just a little bit of breathing room and lowers child poverty. We can give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prescription drug prices.
By the way, and this is a huge deal for me, the child tax credit that the Democrats instituted last year, $300 per child over 6, $350 or something for child under 6. It was basically if you had a couple of kids, you were getting $600 a month. A month. Quiet. A month. That expired at the end of the year, and everybody just let it expire with a collective... So this... Why is the child tax credit important? It cut childhood poverty by almost half. And we just let it expire. Why? Because Omicron was going on, because Build Back Better, the president's a failure, the president's dead. We just let it expire. This was actual money in the pockets of hardworking or lazy American families, people with kids. Families, 90 million American children were eligible for this tax credit, whether they were in poverty or not. This helped offset inflation. This helped offset the increase in living with the gas and the cars and whatever. And we let it go. We just should have put it into a separate bill and just said, this is the child tax credit. This is the American family plan. Please vote for this. Nope. Democrats do not know how to messaging.
This will bring down the cost for seniors and reduce the deficit by hundreds of billions of dollars. Congress can do this all right now.
Yes. Congress can do anything they want right now, but they don't.
Debating it now. We can also restore fiscal responsibility. The Trump tax cuts added $2 trillion in deficit spending and largely helped the rich and the largest corporations. Under my plan, as I said, no one
That's true.
making less than $400,000 a year will pay additional single penny in taxes. No one. If you don't make $400,000,
The caveat he used earlier there was federal taxes, and that seems to be accurate.
you're not going to pay a single penny in additional federal taxes.
There.
And the wealthy and corporations will finally begin to pay their fair share. For most Americans, the last few years were very hard.
Louis says Biden has about 90 days to pass what he wants. After that, we are typically in election mode, and November is going to be a bloodbath. I don't know that November will. What we know, what we've learned since the time of Hillary Clinton, is that things change on a dime. Between now and November is, just doing the math in my head here, 87 years. So who knows what's going to happen in November yet? It'll be interesting to see what happened in the primaries. For example, does Governor Kemp in Alabama, does he lose the primary to Trump's endorsed candidate, former Senator David Perdue? We'll find out. Does Trump have any power anymore? It'll be interesting. Tracy says, but what about fill in the blank? They don't get extra money. Exactly. Parents want their cake and eat it too. If you can't afford them, don't have them. That's right. Personal responsibility. However, this wasn't just black kids. This was all kids. So people actually cared. And it was the majority of the people receiving the child poverty assistance, which that's not it, the child tax credit. The majority of people were actually Republicans.
Stretching them to the breaking
That's not true. More Republicans received the child tax credit than Democrats.
point. But
Like 50% of the people in the country, they're not anything. They don't care.
billionaires and large corporations got richer than ever. Right now, billionaires pay an average rate of 8% on their total income.
Louis says, historically, an underwater president loses 37 seats in the House and the GOP. Historically doesn't mean anything. Yes, usually in the president's first term, whether he's underwater or not, he loses the House and possibly the Senate. It happened to Obama. It happened to Trump. It might happen to Biden. We'll find out. We'll see what happens. The world changes pretty rapidly now, and there are no rules. Historically, a president wins a second term. What we do know is historically Putin attacks other countries during our president's second term. In Bush Jr., Putin invaded Georgia 6 years into the term. With Obama, he invaded Crimea 6 years into the term. With Trump, really this is just Putin sticking with his pattern. This is Trump's 6th year and his second term that he didn't manage to win. Even though it's really hard not to win a second term as president. He did it. It's like nobody's ever seen before.
8%, that's the average they pay. Now, I'm a capitalist, but
Yep.
if you can make $1 billion, great. Just pay your fair share. Pay a little bit. A firefighter and a teacher pay more than double the tax rate that a billionaire pays. That's not right. That's not fair. And my budget contains a billionaire minimum tax because of that. A 20% minimum tax that applies only to the top 1/100 of 1%. 1/100 of the Americans will pay this tax. The billionaire minimum tax is fair, and it raises $360 billion that can be used to lower costs for families and cut the deficit. As I said, my budget also ensures the corporations pay their fair share. In 2020, there were 50 Fortune 500 companies that made $40 billion in profit combined, but didn't pay a single solitary cent in federal taxes.
That's correct. When he says federal taxes, correct.
My budget raises the corporate tax rate to 28%, far lower than the rate it was between World War II and 2017 when it was lowered as of today. Last year,
No, that's mostly accurate.
I rallied more than 100, some of you were overseas with me, 130 countries to agree to a global minimum tax for corporations doing business in their countries, to put an end to a tax system that rewards multinational corporations for...
Tracy says, Mom, Biden was yelling at us again. That's an old trick, by the way. It's not really a trick, but if you want somebody who may not be paying attention to pay attention to you, just start speaking more softly. And if you have to whisper, and then turn your channel into an ASMR channel. This is a check I got from Toyota. But I'm demonetized right now, so I'm not going to do that whole thing.
shipping the jobs and profits overseas.
Whoa! Oh, man, I had my headphones turned up. He scared the shit out of me.
And avoiding taxes at home. It's my hope that Congress enacts this law this year so I can sign it and we can get to work. The second value my budget reflects is security. Security at home and security abroad. My budget tackles security in two key ways. First, it secures our communities at home. This is an issue families in every part of the country face. I've said it before. The answer is not to defund our police departments. It's to fund our police and give them all the tools they need, training and foundation and partners and protectors that our communities need. The budget put...
Sean, I haven't heard anything from YouTube lately. Let's check that out together. Let's see if I can now monetize my channel again, if I can ask again. I want to do a few other things too, to try and monetize, and YouTube is just not cooperating with me. Let's see, where can I go to monetization? Here, you guys watch this. I'll go to
puts more police on the street for community policing, so they get to know the community they're policing. Allows the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and the FBI to hire the agents they need to help fight gun crime and other violent crimes in our communities. And funds body cameras and make sure police work with our local communities and are accountable to these communities. It funds crime prevention and community...
Okay, I don't know what's happening now, because YouTube, before it was like, you've been demonetized, you can try again in 30 days. Now it's all, let's see if I can show it to you guys. Come on. Show me. There. Now it's like, you've passed the partner. Now sign up for AdSense and get reviewed. What? Why? Yeah, oh, I can move her, but I can't. Stop! Just move the whole window. Come on. Yeah, and now I can get reviewed right here. You gotta get reviewed. So have I been like completely... I don't exist anymore on YouTube? I don't know what's going on. I don't know. But yeah, I should produce a couple of videos. I'm gonna do like reviews and set up smart homes and stuff like that. And maybe if I have enough of those, and I say like right at the beginning of the videos, hey everybody, welcome to this reaction video. We are going to take a look at politics. I don't know. Who knows? Let's go back to Biden here.
Community violence intervention, drug treatment, mental health, criminal justice reform, and re-entry for people.
I guess that's good news, by the way. But I already have an AdSense account. It said the second step was to set up an AdSense account. I have an AdSense account, so that makes no AdSense.
People coming home after incarceration.
Maybe my AdSense account got deactivated because it's been so long since I've actually been able to use it to make money. I have no idea. Hey, if you'd like to donate some money to the cause, please do. You can go become a patron at Patreon. You can send money to me on the Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. You can call the Veterans Helpline, and I don't know if they give me money or not. But if you're a veteran and you're in crisis, call that number.
Incarceration. All demonstrable ways to reduce.
PTSD is a terrible thing, so if you're Chris Rock, just give me a call right now. By the way, did Chris Rock not take a punch last night? Like, he just stood there. I want to say like a man, but I just, like, did Will Smith have nothing more than that? Chris Rock had his hands in his pockets, and the reaction was kind of like, whoa. Like, he didn't even, yeah. Now, when they teach you this stuff, people are like, oh, it's so fake, and you could tell it was totally playing and stuff like that. No, because when you take a punch or a slap on TV time, what you do is the slap or the hit is made, and your hand comes up and covers, like that. It's all one motion to cover, and that's what makes it look weird, because when people get punched, their hands come up to their face. But Chris Rock just stood there with his hands in his pockets and was like, oh, Will Smith did more movements than Chris Rock. It was like the energy was absorbed entirely by Chris Rock's jaw and lips, and that was that. So at the Oscar party that I was at, we watched that, and everyone was like, what the hell? Was that real? And then we went, like, I don't think he really hit him. You know, and we went back and we watched, and then afterwards Chris Rock is speaking, and everyone was like, oh man, see how swollen he is? Chris Rock's lip is all swollen up on that side, and his mouth is all crooked. Yeah, he really took a blow. And I was like, no, let's go back. So we went back before that to watch Chris Rock speaking, and that's just Chris Rock's face. That's what he's got. Chris, if you're watching, I'm not talking about you having a messed up face. I mean, everyone's face is asymmetrical. Everyone's mouth is crooked. Everyone's eyes are crooked. I'm trying to hold my head perfectly straight. This, to me, feels perfectly straight, and you can see that this eye is slightly higher than this. We're all that way. If you ever want to fall out of love with somebody, take something and put it over one half of their face and put it over another, and realize that they're two different halves. And then, even better, take a pencil that I have none of. Take a pencil and put it right down the middle, separate the two, and then you'll see how crooked someone's face is, and then have them cheat on you, and you'll fall out of love with them. You'll just try it out. Really, you don't have to do all the pencil stuff, and just have them cheat on you if you want to fall out of love, and then they'll fall out. It'll take a while.
Reduce crime in proven ways. Security also means national and international security. This budget...
Let's see what people are talking about. It's an old stage move. His face was moving before the swing started. Yeah, because you see the swing coming. That's not a stage move. No, he got hit. What happened there, too, is he got you smack the words right out of someone's mouth. That's a thing. And he got, it was the mouth smack. He wasn't going for the face. He wasn't going for the full hit, the side of the head slap. That was you slap someone's mouth. And there are families that do that. I'm sure that still exists, but that was a thing from my childhood too. I saw that happen. But yeah, just the lips. He was going for the lips, and that's why he brought it back down instead of a full-on Batman slap.
Provides the reason.
Anyway, just freaking weird. The story last night should have been about Coda, about a movie about deaf people, an independent movie. And it's not easy to make an independent movie because there's no money behind it. Independent movie that went to Sundance, got picked up by Apple at Sundance. Thank God, otherwise we probably never would have seen it. It might have ended up on the Indie Channel or something, and if you're not on one of the big streaming networks now, you get lost. It's been that way forever. My Big Fat Cute Wedding was made with a budget of X that never would have made it to Hollywood, except somebody saw it and said, yeah, there are people with power that can make that happen. Unfortunately, Will Smith is one of those people. Had nothing to do with Coda, but now all of the Oscar buzz is about Will Smith. Not even about him winning. By the way, fantastic performance. Nothing against Will Smith. Love his acting. But man, you just can't do that. You just can't go slap another human being. Especially not in front of 30 million people. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the Oscars. In front of 27 people? Plus the people in the audience. But that just ruined, and my favorite part of the Oscars, two parts. When the deaf actor won and I don't even know his name. When the deaf actor won for Coda, for supporting actor. First off, let's go back. I'm just going to rant about the Oscars. You know what? We'll do that on Covfefe. I'll rant about all of that. another time. This should be about Biden. Let's not make this all about me and how I feel about Biden. Okay.
Resources we need to keep Americans safe. Ensuring that our military remains the best prepared.
What last night did is ensure everyone is going to watch the Oscars next year. Because now everyone feels like, what did I miss? What happened? What?
Best.
Yeah, jazz hands. Codas are not sure why I stand on where I stand on. No, this is the deaf applause. And by the way, so when the deaf actor won, several actors in the audience were doing like a this thing, which is the equivalent of a slow clap. They have no idea, but it's like if you're sarcastically applauding someone in ASL, you kind of do this. I may be wrong on this, but this is what I've been told. That being said, I could have been told the same thing by good morning. Also, I have an erection if you do it wrong. So that's a good time. And I love that the deaf actor wanted to give, what did he say? He said something about giving. Anyway, enough about the Oscars. Let's get back to it.
Trained, best equipped military in the world. This budget also provides additional funding to forcefully respond to Putin's aggression against Ukraine and its economic, humanitarian, and security consequences. The world has changed. In addition to dealing with terrorist organizations, for the second quarter of the 21st century, we're once again facing increased competition from other nation states, China and Russia, which are going to require investments to make things like space and cyber and other advanced capabilities, including hypersonics. And this will be among the largest investments in our national security in history. Some people don't like the increase, but we're in a different world today. America is more prosperous, more successful, and more just when it is more secure.
And Dune. What did Dune win? Like 6 or 7? They cleaned up. Dune was a pretty good movie.
We can restore fiscal responsibility and safeguard our security at home and abroad while meeting the third value, what I call building a better America. Let's provide universal preschool, cap the cost of child care at 7% of a family's income. Like many families, that would cut the cost of child care in half. It'll make college more affordable. My budget doubles the maximum Pell Grant. Families making under $50,000 a year to nearly $13,000.
That's fantastic.
And helps more than 8 million students who rely on Pell Grants pay for college. My budget invests in building more homes to keep us to deal with the skyrocketing cost of housing for the middle class and the poor. My budget lowers family energy costs with tax credits to help people make their homes more efficient. Research and development to broaden the reach of solar and build a clean energy future. My budget also invests in other areas of bipartisan common good. I call them unity agendas. I spoke to them at the State of the Union. Beating the opioid epidemic, taking on challenges of mental health, supporting our veterans, and ending cancer as we know it. This budget includes investments to get Americans the mental health services they need, and we need them. And when it comes to fighting cancer...
Power of the Dog won for cinematography. I have a beef about that as well. So tomorrow, or whenever I do another Spilling Covfefe, we'll talk about Pile of the Dog and the cinematography in the Pile of the Dog. By the way, the movie I saw this year, I haven't seen Belfast yet, which I understand is fantastic in the cinematography department, but it's also black and white, so there should be a separate category. But anyway, more Biden. But I do have things to say about the cinematography. And there was a movie that was snubbed for the cinematography, yet was given a nod for Best Picture, which is odd.
Cancer and other diseases. My budget funds a new organization called ARPA-H at Health and Human Services at Department of Health. And it stands for Advanced Research Projects for Health. It's based on DARPA, the Defense Department program, that led to breakthroughs in technologies like the internet, GPS, and so much more. ARPA-H will drive breakthroughs to prevent, detect, and treat diseases, including Alzheimer's, diabetes, cancers, and more. And here's what this all adds up to. Historic deficit reduction, historic investment in our security at home and abroad by modernizing our capabilities in both areas, and an unprecedented commitment to building an economy where everyone has a chance to succeed. A plan to pay for those investments that we need as a nation. That's what we do. So I look forward to working with the members of Congress, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, to deliver this budget and keep delivering for the American people. I want to thank you all. May God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Let me, Kelly O'Donnell, NBC.
So he's got another 13 minutes of answering questions too. So I like this. I don't know what the questions are, but let's find out.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you believe what you said?
So this is going to be about, hey, you said that Putin needs to be taken out of office. Do you believe that? This is all they want to talk about.
Thank you, sir. Do you believe what you said, that Putin can't remain in power? Or do you now regret saying that because your government has been trying to walk that back? Did your words complicate matters?
Well, you asked 3 different questions. I'll answer them all. Number 1, I'm not walking anything back. The fact of the matter is I was expressing the moral outrage I felt toward the way Putin is dealing in the actions of this man. Just brutality. Half the children in Ukraine. I just come from being with those families. But I want to make it clear, I wasn't then, nor am I now, articulating a policy change. I was expressing the moral outrage that I feel, and I make no apologies for it.
The White House has a pre-prepared list of reporters, not of questions, but of reporters, and they work it in a cycle. So they have these reporters do get to ask. And as we've seen, Biden often turns to a Peter Doocy or somebody else and says, let's have your question as well. And then that keeps Peter from being on the list because they try and cycle through the list. And that lets Peter Doocy jump the list. But then he also takes people off the cuff as well. I don't know if he will here, but that's what he often does. And he's not reading from a page. You just naturally look down when you're talking to people. I do it all the time. You look this way, that way, whatever. But, I mean, that was a pretty firm answer. I'm not walking it back. That's what I said. That's what I meant.
Personal.
No, Louis, he's not reading the answers. Sometimes he reads answers if he wants a specific. Remember, he keeps a list of his pocket of all the people who've died in the military, the COVID, all the other stuff. So he tries to get exact numbers, but he's not reading.
My personal feelings. Secondly, you asked me about, what was the second part?
Complicate.
See? If he was reading, he wouldn't have to ask what was the second part. He's not reading. He doesn't have the questions in front of him. He was looking down. Let's watch that. Watch. He looks down, because this is how he does. He contemplates. He also does the thing with, I'll use the baseball glove. He also does the thing where he puts the binder or the folder and he puts his head on the binder when he's thinking about things, which has been made fun of on Fox News for some reason. But no, watch what happens. He looks down. There is no answer or question on his page, and so he has to ask, what was the second question again?
The diplomacy of this moment.
No, I don't think it does. You know, the fact is that we're in a situation where what complicates the situation at the moment is the escalatory efforts of Putin to continue to engage in carnage, the kind of behavior that makes the whole world say, my God, what is this man doing? That's what complicates things a great deal. But I don't think it complicates it at all.
Mr. President.
Let me go to Steve Holland, Reuters.
Mr. President, thank you. When you say that you're not walking anything back, you do feel that Vladimir...
And he's likely, if he's reading stuff off, he's probably got other things going on down on his page, and is keeping track of that at the same time as listening. As I'm doing right now. Not that I'm keeping track of anything, but I'm literally reading your chat, watching this, trying to keep track of everything, and voicing my own thoughts. He's multitasking. I mean, trying to see Trump multitasking. That was his name, Trump. I knew I'd get it.
Vladimir Putin should be removed from power. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I was expressing just what I said. I was expressing the moral outrage I felt towards this man. I wasn't articulating a policy change. And I think that, he continues on this course that he's on. He is going to become a pariah worldwide, and who knows what he becomes at home in terms of support.
Are you concerned this remark
Okay, just answer that question without looking down, without reading.
might escalate the conflict?
No, I'm not. I'm not at all.
It's so funny that people, like the Republicans, were just, oh yeah, no. What the senator said about assassinating Putin, he's right. You guys just want Putin to be in power because Biden is in Putin's power because of the puppet master and the $3.5 million from the mayor of the wife of the Burisma. And then Biden says, like, hey, he can't stay in power. Look what he's doing to these poor people. Oh, how dare. He's going to escalate things. Putin's going to get angry and do something bad.
Look.
I'm very honest about Biden's fault. Louis, I'm not a Democrat. I know that President Biden has faults. I was just a few minutes ago, I was saying how bad they are at communicating. I should say messaging.
And look, the other thing is that a couple people have asked me as well,
Is he reading this or is he just thinking? He just thinks. He looks down when he thinks. Some of us do that.
Speak to it unless you want to ask the question. But, that other governments have suggested that this is a problem, I'm escalating things. No. And has it weakened NATO? No, it hadn't. NATO has never, ever, 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 ever been as strong as it is today.
Well, that's actually technically incorrect. It's never, ever, 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 ever been as strong as it is today. And that's the truth.
Never.
Oh, okay, I take that back. I was wrong. He threw that last one in there. I thought he was done. My bad. Again, I'm willing to point it out when he's wrong, but he's actually technically correct.
Saying he cannot remain in power does not mean regime change. What does it mean in your opinion?
It means that I would hope he...
the mic wasn't on when she was speaking, but the hair was on point. Always. The world is okay. We're going to be fine.
It was expressing my outrage. He shouldn't remain in power. Just like, bad people shouldn't continue to do bad things.
What, bad people? Like Batman? Is Robin also a bat person? What about Catwoman? Does she count?
But it doesn't mean we have a fundamental policy to do anything to take Putin down in any way.
What made you add?
Or is he referring to COVID people? Like the people who were experimenting with the bats and then gave us the COVIDs? This is all so much conspiracy. Just look at that hair! I mean, come on!
That because that wasn't in your prepared remarks. We were told. So what made you?
This guy over here, he's looking, he's going, my God, that hair is just, no matter what, it's always perfect. Jelly much?
You add that at the end, Mr. President?
Because I was talking to the Russian people. The last part of the speech was talking to the Russian people.
That is correct. And who can take Putin out of power? Who can take his regime away? The Russian people. And he was specifically talking to the Russian people. Why didn't the White House just come out and clarify by saying that?
Telling him what we thought. And I was communicating this to not only the Russian people, but the whole world. This is just stating a simple fact that this kind of behavior is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. And the way to deal with it.
Is he talking about Will Smith now? I kind of lost. I was looking at her hair.
It is to strengthen and keep NATO.
You know what? I don't know what it is, whether it's herbal essence or whatever she uses in her hair, but I wish she would tell two friends, and they would tell two friends, and they would tell two friends, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on.
Completely unite it and help Ukraine where we can. Cleve, you had a question.
I don't know who Cleve is. Do we know Cleve?
Where is he?
Thanks, Mr. President. On your budget.
Oh, I know Cleve. Okay.
You've said repeatedly at the State of the Union that you're not for defunding the police. I do wonder how.
Okay, yes. And he also, Cleve with the Washington Post, he also said that during the debate. And he also said that as soon as people started saying that after the riots in 2020. Joe Biden has always been against defunding the police. Joe Biden has probably been more responsible for passing more legislation to fund the police on a federal level than any man in history. Remember, he was the crime bill guy. He wrote that crime bill that everyone's like, oh, that's so tough on criminals. And so much money to the police. Do you guys remember that? Do you remember back in those days? When Joe Biden was like, this is my baby. Now everyone's like, oh, no, we can't put people in jail.
How much emphasis you think should be put on alternative forms of crime prevention, not just defunding the police, but, crime reduction in communities?
Oh, significant.
Yeah.
amount. I've laid that out in detail in the budget. For example, we do know that intervention programs work. We do know that what police need, they need psychologists in the department as much as they need extra rifles. They need people who are in the department who can deal with the crisis that the police are going through as well, dealing with their crises, dealing with their mental state and how they're handling things. They need social workers engaged with them. I lay it all out. And it all works. If you see these community intervention programs, they work. They actually reduce crime. They significantly reduce crime. So that's a big piece of it.
Just a follow-up. Is any of it related to political pressure from Republicans saying that Democrats are soft on crime, that you guys are careening to the left?
Isn't it kind of fascinating? When I first got elected, I was being beat up because I supported the police too much for the previous 30 years.
Thank you.
No, that's what I think.
That's correct.
And Ozma.
These people. This is their job. This is not my job. I literally make no money off of this. Marcy did send me a laptop. I'm kidding. Many of you have been extremely generous with me. These people should know stuff like that before asking the questions.
Surprised to get called. Thank you, Mr. President.
I like her because she's wearing a mask still.
Are you willing to try to meet with Vladimir Putin? And I have a quick follow-up to that. When you last met with him face-to-face in Geneva, you had described that as a productive conversation. You said that he did not want a Cold War. And do you feel, given the actions, though, that have happened over the last few months, I guess I'm asking what has changed in his mind?
I don't know what's changed his mind. His behavior's changed. When we met, remember what we were talking about.
I would like to ask you, please, to mind read Vladimir Putin and tell me what he's thinking. What? It's a good answer, though. I don't know what's going on in his mind. His behavior has changed.
We're talking about setting up a strategic dialogue and talking about the relationship of NATO and...
No, Louis, yes, he did. I guess you're new to the broadcast. But I have clips of Joe Biden saying, I'm not in favor of defunding the police. We need to defund the police more. I guess you didn't watch the debates. But go back and watch the debates. I think the first debate was where Joe Biden talked specifically about not defunding the police and that President Trump's budget bill, apropos, actually tried to slash the police budget every single year. Well, then, Louis, you're not remembering them. Go back and watch the first debate.
And Russia and...
Here, I'll give you a website that'll help you out. You can actually search it. It's factbaba.se. Okay? So FactBase, but with the dot before the S. And if you go there, right there, you can actually go to Trump or you can go to Biden and you can look for specific words. And it'll show you all the times that he said those words publicly. They've stopped doing Trump since he's not... whatever he was. He was something. He was a gunnery sergeant? Whatever he was. They've stopped doing him now, but it's a wonderful resource that you can use. You're welcome.
Facing off in the regions and how we could have more transparency and all the rest. It was a normal discussion I had going all the way back to Casino.
Well, forcefully is subjective, Louis. I thought it was forcefully. I'm not. I'm totally against defunding the police. I believe where is that. Let's look it up. Let's just look it up. Let's find out. Let's do a search on Joe Biden and defunding. Should be fairly. Let's go back here. There's some documents about it. This is in 20 interview. CNN Town Hall. CNN Town Hall. Gun violence. So it might be defund. In fact, I might even have the actual video clip. I'm trying to find one with the debate background. It's here somewhere. Let's see if I actually have it in my set of video clips. It's been a while since I looked for it. Give me just a minute here, and we'll let you guys decide whether this is forceful enough or not. Okay, how about, let's see if I just search my Biden folder for defund. Okay... defund, no items match my search. We might not get lucky here right now. I don't want to spend the whole broadcast doing this. Let's reset that. Give me a second here. And it's probably on my phone. But, yeah. Here we go. Law and order. Violence is never... here we go. Let's see if it's part of this right here. Let me pull it up.
Where
see
people
where it
are
goes.
held accountable. When
Hold on. I can move this window over so you guys can see it. Give me a second. Or maybe I can't. Come on. Sorry,
where
folks. I
people
know
are held
this is...
accountable. When, and by the way,
Okay, what? Stop it. Hold on. I want to take this. There we go. Now I can put it there, and now I can do this.
where people are held accountable. When, and by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right, Ms.
Okay, so this was, why won't Joe Biden condemn the violence? Why won't Joe Biden do that? How come Joe Biden... Anyway. He does say I'm against defunding police. He wants to defund the police. I don't want to defund the police. It happened, I believe, in the first debate.
Reagan and others back in 100 years ago when I was a young senator. And so what changed was...
But I don't know, was that forceful enough? Violence is never appropriate in any case. Is that not forceful? Did he need to bang his fist while he says it? Does he need to grip his teeth? What if he whispers, Biden it says violence is never appropriate. Unless she wants it. Yeah. Can you imagine, though, if he said that? Oh, wow. Dr. Jills is in the background, giggling. Don't.
Nothing remotely approaching that.
Don't.
Remember when he first met with me, he said, I have two objectives.
Yeah.
This is the second or third time I met with him.
I know that we were talking about defunding the police, Louis. I went to my video vault here on this computer. I have multiple computers, thanks to Marcy. And I have files on my phone as well. I didn't have that one prepped. It's somewhere, but I have it. Like I said, go watch the first debate. It's in there.
He said, I have two objectives. One is to make sure that they never become part of NATO, and two, to make sure there are no long-range missiles in there.
I was trying to play that clip because I thought it might be in there. It's not in there. But it's there somewhere. Trust me. You know what? Don't trust me. Look it up yourself. Go to FactBase with the .se, and you can look it up there.
In Ukraine. I said, we can deal with the second.
Yes, Chris, I am broadcasting from a storage unit. This is the new Stable Boy Studios, but I have yet to unpack all of the stuff here. So this is where I am right now. But yeah, that's all I can say about that. There's other stuff to do with the rest of the house that takes priority.
Easily, but we can't close the door on the first, because when we talk about missiles, we want to talk about what's also on the Russian border heading toward Europe. Do both. And then, if you notice, that demand list of his, not with me, with others, have escalated significantly in terms of what he thinks is necessary. Thank you very
We need some more clarification, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Not going off his list, by the way. Now he's just picking people out of the audience. Oh my God, he never lets people ask questions.
Thank you very much.
I know you're going to ask a really nice...
Okay, this Peter Doocy. He's picking on Peter Doocy gets to ask more questions than just about anybody in the White House press corps. Because he knows he's going to ask him, and he's always sarcastic about it, a really great question.
Nice question.
Well, it's
a really nice question in this case.
An important question.
No,
I take.
It's just fine. We don't have to insult Peter's chin. In fact, he's got two chins there, so I don't know what you're talking about, no chin.
Are you worried that other leaders in the world are going to start to doubt that America is back if some of these big things that you say on the world stage keep getting walked back?
What's getting walked back?
It made it sound like, just in the last couple days, it sounded like you told U.S. troops they were going to Ukraine.
No. He said, you'll see that when you're in Ukraine. He didn't say, you guys. See, old folks talk differently. There is the implied everybody. We covered this. You covered this probably if you went to school in America, North America, England. In terms of the English language, there are implied pronouns. Okay? For example, go to the store. The you is implied there. When people say, especially older folks, when they say you, y'all, y'all, They're saying everybody, anybody. Okay? I'll give you an example. You'll have a good time. A yubba do time. You'll have a gay old time. When you're with the Flintstones, anybody with the Flintstones is going to have a yubba dubba do time. It doesn't mean specifically. They're not saying in the music, specifically, you will have a good time with the Flintstones because the Flintstones don't exist. But that's the way people used to talk all the time. The same as saying is one would expect just one. It could be you, could be anybody else. When you're in Ukraine, you'll see that the people are being mistreated. You'll see that people are being killed, that they are bombing maternity wards. You'll see that when you're there. Doesn't mean that those specific people, Joe, Bob, Sandra, Deidre, I'm putting you there, Deidre, because I saw your name. Deidre, I'm making Deidre part of the show. This is not about me, people. This is about you, specifically Deidre. Deidre, when you go to Ukraine, hold on, here's your ticket. I've got the ticket for Deidre. It says Deidre right on it. And now we're going to do some ASMR for Deidre. I'm going to hand Deidre the ticket, and you're going to go to Ukraine. Point is, people should understand English.
It sounded like you said it was possible the U.S. would use a chemical weapon, and it sounded like you were calling...
Nope. He said he would respond. If Russia uses a chemical weapon, what would be the response? We will respond in kind. In kind means something similar, but not the same thing. That's what the phrase means. For example, you might be a campaign, and you can collect money from people. You have to report that money. You could also get free advertising time from people. That's called in-kind donations. You still have to report that because it's a thing of an equal value. How much would that commercial be worth if I paid for it, if the campaign paid for it? Oh, $1,000. Okay, that's an in-kind contribution of $1,000. It's not money. It's similar to it, but it's not money. So what Biden was saying is that we would respond not with chemical weapons, but we'd respond in kind. It's freaking English.
Calling for regime change in Russia, and we know
none of the three occurred.
None of the three occurred?
None of the three.
Mr. President?
You interpret...
And Biden's right on this one.
Interpret the language that way. I was talking to the...
Yes, exactly. He's right. They're interpreting the language that way because they don't understand the totality of the language. Just like on the left, there's a whole bunch of people that think Trump makes no sense. You have to understand how Trump is speaking. And he still makes no sense most of the time. But
the troops.
Remember, I used to call myself the Trumpslater because I would understand what the hell he was talking about because I watch enough of the right-wing nonsense to see where those angles are coming from. And then Trump rarely finishes a sentence, but I can figure out what he's trying to say. Marcy says, we all have inherent biases that determine how we process information. That is true. And if we can strip those biases away, we might have an idea of what the other person is saying. It is English, Louis. Yes, it is.
We're talking about helping train the troops that are the Ukrainian troops that are in Poland. That's what the context. I sat there with those guys for a couple hours. That's what we talked about.
There you go.
So when you said you're going to see when you're there, you were not intending to
I was referring to meeting with and talking with the Ukrainian troops that were in Poland.
And when you said a chemical weapon use by Russia would trigger a response in kind.
It will trigger a significant response.
Yeah, that's what in kind means.
What does that mean?
An equivalent but different response. Let's just look up in kind. Hold on. In kind definition. In kind, in the same way with something similar. Not the same thing. Something similar to what it was. That's what in kind means.
I'm not going to tell you. Why would I tell you? You got.
Well, how? What are you going to use? What are you going to do, Mr. President? Give us all the secrets.
That'd be silly.
Or a response in kind.
With meeting with and talking significant response.
What does that mean?
I'm not going to tell you. Why would I tell you? You got to be silly.
The world wants to know.
The world wants to know.
No, Louis, I'm talking specifically about Fox News. I watched, I want to say The Five? I think that's what it's called. Yeah, The Five on Fox, the afternoon that Biden said that, the afternoon they gave a speech, and they all believed that Biden said that he was going to attack Russia with chemical weapons because he said in kind. They all believed that. They all believed that he was telling those soldiers that they were going to the Ukraine. They all believed that. And that is the background that I know of, which is where this question is coming from Peter Brucey, who works for Fox News.
A lot of things. I'm not telling them what the response would be. Then Russia knows the response.
Wow, Marcy's like, let's finish the video. Okay. Wow.
All right, I'm going to take two more questions. 1, 2.
Mr. President.
Wait, you saw how we checked the list, right? I'm going to take two more questions. Point finger 42 degrees to the one. Hold on, one more. And to the left, 15 degrees, 8 rows back. 2. He's a puppet. I'm not the puppet. You're the puppet. You're the puppet. No puppet. No puppet. Can't believe. Just looking back on the debate. Seriously, if you want 5 minutes of solid entertainment, go back, go on C-SPAN, go on YouTube's, and just watch one of the debates between Trump and Hillary Clinton. And you'll watch those and think, oh my God, what were we thinking?
I still want to get back to your original words that he cannot remain in power. Can you help us understand, you have more foreign policy experience than any president who's ever held this office. Whether those are your personal feelings or your feelings as president, do you understand why people would believe you, as someone commanding one of the largest nuclear arsenals in the world, saying someone cannot remain in power is a statement of U.S. policy? And also, are you concerned about propaganda use of those remarks by the Russians?
No and no.
So it's not going to, like, what difference is that going to make? It's not like the Russians aren't using propaganda against the United States right now.
Tell me why. You have so much.
Yeah, come on, Joe. You got to explain this. You do have to explain this.
Much experience. You are the leader of this country.
Because it's ridiculous. Nobody believes we're going to take down. I was talking about taking down Putin. Nobody believes that. Number one.
A lot of people do. A lot of people do, Joe. Seriously, Joe's people, call me up. I'll come in there and I'll talk to them.
Number two, what have I been talking about since this all began? The only war that's worse than one intended is one that's unintended. The last thing I want to do is engage in a land war or a nuclear war with Russia.
That's the last thing I want to do as well.
That's not part of it.
No.
I was expressing my outrage at the behavior.
The last thing I want to do is kajagoogoo.
Of this man. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. And it's more an aspiration than anything. He shouldn't be in power. There's no, I mean, people like this shouldn't be ruling countries, but they do. The fact they do, but doesn't mean I can't express my outrage about it. Last question.
President, thank you. You've said that you're confident that your comment won't undermine diplomatic efforts. But just to be clear, are you confident that
Just like I said, this whole press conference was going to be about things that Biden said that he means a certain way and everybody interprets a different way. Not everybody. I didn't.
Vladimir Putin sees it?
Again, he was talking to the Russian people. Somewhere in that press conference, he changed it. I just want to tell the Russian people, we got no war with you. We got no quarrel with you. But what Putin's doing is really, really bad. He has... Anyway.
That way, that he will not use this as an escalatory...
I don't care what he thinks. Look, here's the deal. He's going to do what he's going to do. Putin, look...
But I love that. I don't care what he thinks.
You're not concerned that he may see your language and view that as a sign?
And do what? Invade Ukraine? Carpet bomb cities of innocent civilians? Go after children in a theater and bomb them? Yeah, that'd be Biden's fault.
Of a reason for escalation, use that as an excuse to escalate?
Oh, you think Putin's going to escalate because Joe Biden says he needs not to be in power? You think he's going to decide in the we bomb Germany? No, this is not the way the world works.
Given his recent behavior?
Given his recent behavior, you should, excuse me, I shouldn't say that to you. Given his recent behavior, people should understand that he is going to do what he thinks he should do, period. He's not affected by anybody else, including, unfortunately, apparently his own advisors.
Yes. You know what? I'm just going to go to Washington, D.C. and just hold press conferences for Joe so he doesn't have to answer these questions? He's got things to do. He's president.
This is a guy who goes to the beat of his own drummer. And the idea that he is going to do something outrageous because I called him for what he...
No, eye to eye. Too shy, eye, hush, hush, eye to eye, not eye to eye.
...was and what he's doing, I think is just not rational.
You didn't say whether you'd meet him again. Would you meet with President Putin ever again?
It depends. No, it's not.
Okay, then that's a third question. That's Caitlin calling out from underneath her perfect hair. This is too many questions now. It looks like you might just answer this. Let's find out.
Not a question. The question is there something to meet on that would justify him being able...
Louis says, many people would do better than Joe. This is not his string point. Well, you're making a string argument for yourself there, and I can't disagree with you.
...to end this war and be able to rebuild Ukraine. That's the issue.
Now, that's 4 questions.
Can you say yes or no, Mr. President, whether or not you would be willing to meet with President Putin
It depends on what he wants to talk about.
So that's a maybe. Now is he pointing to somebody else? He's gonna go for 5 questions?
Thank you. Okay, last question.
And now one of his advisors has to be, okay, last question. President's having difficulty counting today. That'll be the headline on Fox. Biden was so confused and incognitive up there that he couldn't even count the number of extra questions.
What if he wanted to talk about negotiations? Now, what if he...
I swear to God he was going to ask about Vidal Sassoon. He was just going to turn over to, this is not for you, Mr. President. Brittany, seriously, what do you do? Because I'm putting product in here, and it's just, look at it. It's hard, it's crunchy, but yours just flows and it's burning. I don't know what to do.
Hello, you said Supreme Court. Now, don't play that.
Well...
Talk about it.
Thank you. Okay, last question.
What if he wanted to talk about negotiations? Now, what if he
Hello,
wanted to...
you said Supreme Court. Now, don't play that.
Well, you can't leave that hanging. Just real quick, 2 matters on the Supreme Court. While you were away...
Okay, so he said he had a question about the Supreme Court. He said that as questions were being asked, Brittany sounded her question out. Talk about cognition. So he heard this gentleman, I don't know who this is, but I'm insulting his hair, but it's good. It's good hair. He's got good hair today. He said a question about the Supreme Court, Mr. President, question about the Supreme Court. He remembered that before, so that when he started to ask a follow-up question to Brittany's question, he's like, hey, you said Supreme Court. Ha, ha, ha. Everybody laughs.
There were reports about the wife of Justice Thomas and texts that she had with former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Should Justice Thomas recuse himself from any cases involving the January 6th insurrection or former President Trump at this point?
I leave that to 2 entities.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Ask the second question.
No, 2 entities. Go ahead. Sorry.
1, the January 6th committee, and 2, the Justice Department. That's their judgment, not mine to make.
So, on Justice...
That is the correct answer. As opposed to, I'm sure what Trump... I would love to hear what Trump... Because Trump's given those answers now. I don't know if he's commented on Clarence Thomas or Ginny Thomas yet, but...
Thomas recusing, you don't think he should, or...?
I said that. I told you. Those things get into legal issues. That, in fact, I told you I would not tell the Justice Department what position to take or not take. And I'm not going to instruct the Congress either.
And did you get any chance to watch much of the Judiciary Committee hearings last week?
I didn't get a chance to see any of it, unfortunately.
The fact that Republicans...
Yeah, he was like in Europe, meeting with the soldiers, telling them they were going to go and fight in Ukraine. You guys don't remember this?
Republicans were questioning Judge Jackson on matters like former sentences related to child pornography cases or the definition of a woman. Does that, as the former chairman of the Judiciary Committee, make sense to you?
Look, this is one of the most qualified nominees ever nominated for the Supreme Court in every respect, in terms of her disposition, her intellectual capacity, her experience and background, serving on 3 additional courts, a woman who is totally, thoroughly qualified, and will be a great addition to the court in my view. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do you think that Russia is behind the alleged poisoning of those Ukrainian peace negotiators?
Do you think Russia's behind this something of the Ukrainian negotiator? The poisoning? Has the Ukrainian... I don't know what she said. It sounded like Brittany again. And again, with that hair, you can ask as many questions as you want. But I don't know. So Biden asked, let's see, he spoke for about 12 and a half minutes. He answered questions for about 5.5 minutes. I almost called you President Jojo. Producer Jojo. Hi. She might, I don't know, Producer Jojo just logged on, it looks like, so she might actually be watching this from the beginning. So say hi now, and then she'll see this in 45 minutes. An hour and 5 minutes. All right. I think it stopped raining now. Yeah, so I'm going to record a voiceover, and well, I'm going to try and do more Spilling Covfefes in the morning. I'm going to start up an AdSense account and see if I can get monetized on YouTube again. I got some other stuff to do, but this is actually good news. I've been demonetized so long now that apparently the account that they use to give me money is now, it doesn't even exist anymore, so I might be able to start the whole process over again, and that's where you guys come in. Louis says, if you have an email, I'd be glad to correspond with you about some issues. I don't have the time, Louis, but you sure. Yeah, let's not email. Just if we're broadcasting, you're welcome to come in here. Jojo says, I feel like I'm super late. You're just in time to end the broadcast. Got to drive home now, but listening. Jojo, you have to go back to the beginning. And we did do a little Oscar talk. We'll talk a little Oscars tomorrow unless something outrageous happens today. Remember what award ceremony was it? And who was it who kept saying, outrageous? Blast from the past. First one wins the judges. Congratulations. Oh, okay. Well, JoJo's going to listen from the beginning once this is all over, so we might as well just end it now. Goodbye, everybody. I'm kidding. First one, does anybody remember what year, not what year, but what ceremony it was, what award ceremony it was, and who kept saying outrageous? Louis, I have an open email, but I don't have the time to sit there and answer it. I had a lot of other stuff going on in my life. You don't usually watch them? No, you actually probably remember this, Stephanie, because you would have been at the age where you would remember something like this. And back in those days when there was an award show, that's all there was. If it was the Oscars or the Grammys or the Emmys or the Tonys, well, not the Tonys, but if it was anything, everybody was watching. And there was a year when one artist just kept winning and winning and winning. He was the Dune of his day, and I've given you a hint there because only half the people are men. So he just kept winning and winning, winning, and he kept just saying outrageous every time he came up to the microphone. And then there were T-shirts that said outrageous. Has got this picture of the guy underneath. Hello, people. Hello. Is it me you're looking for? I can't believe no one remembers that. No, it wasn't Michael Jackson. It wasn't David Bowie. It wasn't. I just gave it away, people. It wasn't Billy Ocean. I know that's going to be your next guess. But it is the man who is most often confused for Billy Ocean. You guys remember Billy Ocean? Caribbean Queen, now we're living the same dream. And our hearts... Lionel Richie is correct. Good job, Marcy. Lionel Richie at the Grammys kept saying outrageous over and over. Sean is also correct. I'm going to say Sean is a tie, even though he came in after Marcy, because Sean is on English time, and that is, I think, 3 minutes behind Hawaiian time. Let's look that up and see if we can find ourselves a little Lionel Richie at the Grammys, and see. I bet you I can't play more than like 2 seconds of this. Grammys outrageous. Oh, yeah. So it is a search term. Okay. Oh my God, I got it wrong. It was the American Music Awards, not the Grammys, according to this. Or maybe he did it at the Grammys and then he did it at the American. I don't know. I forget. So the award was wrong, but I was looking for Lionel Richie. So Marcy wins both categories. Actually, nobody said Grammys. Here we go. Come on. We got an ad for Kachava. So go ahead and buy Kachava, people.
Outrageous! Outrageous!
Okay, that's just one clip of him doing it. But he kept winning and he kept doing the outrageous thing over and over again. And I think the first one started with like something, oh, I can't believe this. This is outrageous. This is outrageous. And then you run again, outrageous. And then this thing, outrageous. And there was the year that I was thinking this year before Michael Jackson won, like 8 or 9. Ridiculous. Hold on. Michael Jackson. Grammys in one night. 8. 8 Grammys. Was it We Are the World that he won it for? No, that was for Thriller, and the Record of the Year Beat It. That was before We Are the World. We're not the people, but we are the children. I believe the children are the furniture. And that's all we have time for today. So guys, be good to yourself, be good to others. Most importantly, be good to me.